translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. Both the lowest of fools and he who is transcendental to all intelligence enjoy happiness, whereas persons between them suffer the material pangs. Purport. The lowest of fools do not understand material miseries. They pass their lives merrily and do not inquire into the miseries of life. Such persons are almost on the level of animals, who, although in the eyes of superiors, are always miserable in life, are unaware of material distresses. A hog's life is degraded in its standard of happiness, which entails living in a filthy place, enjoying in sex enjoyment at every opportune moment, and laboring hard in a struggle for existence, but this is unknown to the hog. Similarly, human beings who are unaware of the miseries of material existence and are happy in sex life and hard labor are the lowest of fools. Yet because they have no sense of miseries, they supposedly enjoy so-called happiness. The other class of men, those who are liberated and are situated in the transcendental position above intelligence, are really happy and are called Paramahamsas. But persons who are neither like the hogs and dogs nor on the level of the Paramahamsas feel the material pangs, and for them inquiry about the supreme truth is unnecessary. Is necessary. The Vedanta Sutra states Atato Brahma Jignasa. Now one should inquire about Brahman. This inquiry is necessary for those who are between the Paramahamsas and the fools who have forgotten the question of self-realization in the midst of life in sense gratification. The translation once again, kindly do repeat. Both the lowest of fools and he who is transcendental to all intelligence enjoy happiness, whereas persons between them suffer the material pangs. Jai Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnananjanashlakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastarya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Charu Swami Niti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastarya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschate Satarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vancha Kalpatrubhascha Kripa Sindhuvaya Vacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dear Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, seeking the blessings and mercy of all the assembled and unassembled Vaishnavas, so that I can say something relevant and somewhat meaningful. We embark upon an auspicious time. The 5 days of Deepavali begin today, apparently. But this particular chapter of the 3rd canto, 17th chapter, has somewhat 11 themes. A nice, sweet little class given yesterday by Nilamani, Her Grace. Here there are somewhat 11 themes, and the chapter really begins with a description of Krishna, master of all energies. And then pure soul is pure consciousness. Then the third type of theme is Maitreya Muni then gets agitated by the inquisitive Vidura. It's like constant questions upon questions. So, and then the bewilderment of mischievous living beings. Cessation of unlimited miserable conditions. And then here on the 17th text, it's the lowest of fools live merrily. The lowest of fools live merrily. Merry Krishna. And then questions by Vidura. Contradictions of faithless atheists. And the ninth kind of theme is spiritual masters are kind to the needy. And the 10th one is spotless devotees of the Lord. And then finally, Maitreya Rishi, immortal. So in a nutshell, Prabhus, in total there are 42 verses, and it's all about Vidura asking Maitreya Rishi how Lord Brahma created the universe after the appearance of the universal form. So that's just the summary of it all. But this particular verse and purport, I must say, Prabhus, reminds me of the beautiful poem compiled by none other than our great Thakur Bhaktivinoda, who sits there on the top right. In Old English, some of you may have come across it, this beautiful verse. The poems Jai Shri Radha Goklananda ki Jai, Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki Jai, Gonitai Bhagavan ki Jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So, Prabhus, if those of you who may not remember these poems, and they're 22 verses in Old English compiled by the 7th Goswami, the Thakur wrote wonderful poems and literature. This was in 1887, and it's entitled Sharagri Vaishnav. And it details the futility of attempts for sensuary happiness and the eternality of the soul and the worthy struggle of the soul to achieve pure devotion and transcend the material existence. This great poem gives further indication of the Thakur's feelings of devotion being stirred by his having the opportunity to live in the Dham, the holy Dham. And I recollect some years back now, sitting here in the temple room on one weekday evening, and His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj had us all chant these verses, and he was somewhat insistent in us memorizing them. Of course, it's in Old English, and Old English can be sung, just like Sanskrit is sung. So I'm going to chant some of these verses. I've done so in the past, and they're absolutely adorable. Of course, most of the verses, we don't really have much inclination as to what they particularly mean. But there are words which give us, a striking meaning. And it goes like this: alas, for those that spend their days in festive mirth and joy, the dazzling, deadly liquid forms for their hearts in air employ. So this is the verse, this 17th verse is very much in, reminding of these verses. The shining bottles charm their eyes and draw their hearts' embrace. The slaves of wine can never rise from what we call disgrace. So these are 22 verses. Time doesn't really permit me to continue, but I shall pick on some verses. The 5th one is one of my favorites. The flesh is not our own, alas. The mortal frame a chain. The soul confined for former wrongs should try to rise again. And then another one which is quite appealing to me. Forget the past that sleeps, and ne'er the future dream at all, but act in times that are with thee, and progress thee shall call. Beautiful, isn't it? Just moving on, really. I mean, I could go on with all of these verses, but the 20th is, maintain thy past in spirit world as firmly as you can. Let never matter push thee down. Oh, stand heroic man. And then finally, the 22nd verse. Of course, I'd like to go through all of them, but, I've got 11 minutes. There rests my soul from matter free upon my lover's arms. Eternal peace and spirit's world are all my chanting charms. Are all my chanting charms. Jai Bhakno Thakur ki. Beautiful. And of course, the verse this morning really stipulates that the topmost devotees. So here the Thakur Bhaktinod is emphasizing, alas for those. Because those who are in mirth and joy, mirth meaning, festive occasion, and of course, the festive occasion is upon us. On Friday, it is Diwali. These are festive occasions, and we being in the West, and many people will enjoy. Of course, on such occasions, not really enjoyment; it's really part of devotion, isn't it? And merry we are during the month of December, are we not? So mirth and joy. So, in essence, the verse here stipulates that the topmost devotees, the paramount, they really know how to enjoy true happiness. They know. Other than the devotees, everyone in essence is suffering, even though they think that they're not suffering. Many moons ago, we were in I think it was in Bristol. It was Easter weekend, and we had these Hindu youth festivals, and we used to remember these Easter weekends. Deepak might know. And there was this young chappie who was debating Akhandari Prabhu, and he said, I don't suffer, it's all in the mind. There's no such thing as suffering. And there was a big debate, these teenagers. I think it was 89 or 90, I can't remember. But in Easter weekend. And of course, the afternoon sessions, in the morning we had the seminars, afternoon we had sports day, sports. So everyone would play a bit of sport. And this young chap, he sprained his ankle. And he was on the floor. He was pretty much in agony. And Kandari Prabhu is a sportsman, he's one of the few who achieved the crater of Kilimanjaro. How he had the stamina way up there. But he's a sportsman. He came along, and of course he was very compassionate to the young lad. And to after taking care of him, ambulance turned up, and he was in plaster, unfortunately, by the end of the day. But Kandari Prabhu mentioned that, are you uncomfortable? Are you in pain? Well, of course I'm in pain. It's really uncomfortable. Should we call the ambulance? Is there a need? Because you are, you're happy, aren't you? So that's when he kind of realized that, yes, well, there's no, happiness is in a fool's dictionary, isn't it? But it then dawned upon him that, yes, I suppose it's not all in the mind. There is something called discontentness. But here, it's the devotees. The devotees are never unhappy. The devotees are never unhappy. I've kind of noticed that. And even at the time of when physically there's some discomfort. observing the life of His Grace Shuti Dharma, Her Grace Kalangana Mataji, even Jivapati. Jivapati, those of you who may know him, he was an amazing personality. Never would he smile in public, if those of you who may remember him. Seldom would he laugh. However, in the ashram upstairs, he was always in stitches, always happy. In public, very somber, gambhir, serious, because he's always on the altar. And on the altar you have to be pretty serious, don't you? But so when you look at, he's depressed, it's never the case. There were times in the ashram upstairs, and he'd like to view a bit of, Charlie Chaplin, would make him chuckle. Charlie Chaplin, the old Chaplin. And he would laugh and laugh, and you would never think that, this is Jivapati. But the devotees, in essence, they're pretty much transcendental, isn't it? However, here, it's mentioned fools. The translation, both the lowest of fools, they think that they are happy. But in essence, Prabhu's, we have an amazing pastime here, particular poem, which is entitled "The Water Rises." The water rises with this is particularly the case for the non-devotees who may think that they're in a comfortable place. But the water rises, and when one is in difficulty, when one's lease is about to expire, when the mentality is such that the freehold mentality is always there, but we all know that the freehold doesn't really exist. It's a lease. So when the lease is about to expire, this is the case because the water rises. My feet are cold, and as they turn into a watery blue, and it is an uncomfortable numb, because the water begins from the feet. I have lost all feeling. I waited too long, and now it is impossible to run, because you can't really exit. The water rises, and it is now up to my shaking, knocking, bony knees. I ask the water to release me. I ask with desperation, and arriving in ever-rising, shivering pleas. But the water doesn't listen and decides to rise above my waist. I no longer feel my legs beneath, and I'm now just panicking, standing in this murky water, totally encased. Murky water, totally encased. The water rises, and it's now surging against my chest. My heart pumps out a little heat, but it won't last much longer. I am now waiting for the impending cardiac arrest. The tightness forms, and a sudden sharpness of ice-cold breath. I cannot move, and I'm thinking, what a pathetic way to meet my end. The water rises, and I'm seeing the water and feeling it bounce off my bearded chin. That's why I thought I wouldn't shave today, bearded chin. How am I still alive, and I now cannot feel a single limb? I'm chained to the ground. and I am alone in what will soon be my watery grave. No one is coming and no one is looking, so I guess I am not going to be saved. The water rises, and my head is now tilted back, right back. I feel the water seeping into me, and it's now oxygen I'm starting to lack. The water fills my lungs, and my heart starts to explode. My eyes are wide open, and my last thought is I'm now dead with all the water I've swallowed. I'm now submerged, my head and hand, the last and only thing seen. The hand comes up. I wave goodbye to this life and all the things I'd had once been. Waving. The hand then lowers, and the subtle body merges out and disconnects. Goodbye. I vacated the premises. So if one is not inclined spiritually, and is very much dependent on the mind and the senses, and the water continues to rise, and it's a very uncomfortable situation, isn't it? In my time, I've probably conducted 2,500, 3,000 funerals. Can't remember. I've seen and been with 11 personalities who have left in my presence, and I'm thinking that I will continue eternally in this premises. Seldom do I think that, yes, a time will come when I'm submerged and I'm drowning. Sometimes I look forward to that occasion, thinking, what will happen? Where will I be? In what state of mind will I be in? When observing dear ones and close ones who are leaving, I wonder what my lease is, how long this lease is, if I only knew. But on a festive note and festive occasion, dear devotees, for festivities are upon us. This is the first day of the 5th. There are 5 days, the Deepavali. Now we move on to the festivities. Enough of the depression. Deepavali, the first day, is all about, it's named as Dhanteras, or in our case is Dhanvantri Triyodasi. Dhanvantri, we all know Dhanvantri. It was on this day that Lord Dhanvantri appeared and delivered the Ayurvedic medication. We all need some Ayurvedic medication. It's this day. And it's customary to also offer the ghee lamps, which we've done with prasad, but to Yamaraja, the Lord of the Death. And the second day, it's of the Deepavali, is all about to us Naraka Chaturdasi. That's important to us. It was then that the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, rescued all these 16,000 princesses. That's the second day, which I believe should be tomorrow. And then the third day, a very important day for us, because that's the actual day when the Damodar Leela took place. This coming Friday, when the Lord was, bound. Of course, that's quite a unique event for us. The fourth day is the Govardhan Puja for us. And the fifth and final day is all about, it's named as Bhatri Duja or Bhai Bij Duja, another festive occasion when Yamaraj visits his younger sister Jamuna, Jamuna is so very delighted that benedictions are there, and Vaishnavas, dive into the Jamuna to receive the blessings and benedictions. So these, in a nutshell, are the 5 days of Diwali. But Prabhu's coming back to the verse in conclusion. He who is transcendental to all intelligence enjoy happiness. So in our manual is the Nectar of Devotion, the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, page 10, under the heading of Happiness in Krishna Consciousness. Very popular. Generally, when I pick up the NOD, I kind of go through the first chapter and that's it, I put it away. So I've happiness in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada states that Srila Rupa Goswami mentions that true happiness is derived from being conscious of Krishna. Such is the conclusion, I would say, to this verse and purport. True happiness is derived when one is conscious of Krishna. Both the lowest of fools and he who is transcendental to all intelligence enjoy happiness, whereas persons between them suffer the material pangs. Yesterday we had a whole discussions on these pangs. The snare of Maya. Thank you all very much, Prabhus, for listening. 'Tis 8:34. Any comments? Gladly accepted. Questions at all? Govinda Prabhu is here. Others are here. Swayam Jyoti Prabhu is here. Yes, Damodar Prabhu ki. We have Damodar Prabhu, no longer David, okay? Don't call him David at all. His name is Damodar Prabhu, and what a wonderful name. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the class. I was just wondering about the water rises, who was like the author.
That's a very good point. I thought you may ask me that because you're such a beautiful poet in that book of yours. Unfortunately, it was Kaveri Prabhu who sent me this some time back before he lost his phone on WhatsApp, and he didn't put the author. There is an author. It says it's entitled "The Water Rises." I shall try and attempt to get that author for you. Thank you for reminding me. But Kaveri Prabhu, you see, whenever I recite this, I do think of him. He's back on his feet again, but still not so active on his phone. So yes, I do. Apologies, there's no author there. There must be an author. Naturally, everything has an author, doesn't it? But it's entitled "The Water Rises." I'll try and get the author. Thank you. Anything else, Damodar? No. Thank you so very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.